the recession has two phases. The first is called ease off, in which the economy begins to decline, but it's not really clear that it's declining. The leading indicators are deteriorating, and the coincident indicators are mixed. So what do we have now? Well, you have some of the components of the economy declining, like industrial production, gross domestic income, the Chicago Fed's National Activity Index. But the second phase of the recession is called plunge, and the economy just breaks, and you have a waterfall. We often go through a process in which people will say the recession is not coming, that this time is different, because the initial impact of the inflation and the monetary response don't seem to congeal, but ultimately they do.
And he said that, we have had several great bubbles in history, one of which we are potentially seeing bursting right now. He believes so. And he says you have to analyze those very differently from all the other regular bull market cycles because they're so distinct. And if you look at the burstings of them, they all tend to follow a very similar pattern, where you see the most speculative assets get hit the most first. And that's what we saw in 2022 with all the high flying growth stocks. But then you see kind of a recovery, usually in January of the next year, as all the tax loss sellings occurred and all the proceeds are then looking around and saying, oh, well, we now have these bargain values in these former darlings. Well, let's put money back into them, and they shoot up again. So what Grantham is seeing, and to a large extent to what Lacy is seeing, is, yes, we have this sort of like what they would call sort of a false summer right now in terms of the markets and sentiment and whatnot. But they're saying we would expect to see this at this stage. And what we expect to see coming next from the progression of history that these very seasoned investors have seen several times is you then start to see all these other shoes start to drop, oftentimes catching the people who all flooded back into the market by complete surprise because they thought the storm was ending, but when it was actually really just beginning to get underway.